Hey there, it's David H. Lawrence the 17th, and I don't know about you, I'm a huge fan of a guy by the name of James Clear. I read almost everything I can find that he does. You might want to look him up on the web. He's really, really smart. And he recently put together a list of 5 common biases that we can all suffer from when we're looking at what to believe in, what to support, what gives us pause, what makes us think, what to reject, what to accept, what to act on, what not to act on, where we want to move with our journeys, and so on. We have these common biases. He did 5. I want to add a 6th one because we all want to do better critical thinking. We all want to be better at what we do, how we do it, where we're going, sort of laying out our path. And if you know about these biases, they can really help you with that process of critical thinking. So I'm going to do 3 in this video, and then I'm going to do 3 more in the next video. But the first one I want to talk to you about is something called survivorship bias. My buddy Michael Kostroff and I are working on the marketing that is going to happen around his Audition Psychology 101 online course. It's going to be coming out later this year. And he said this to me. He said, I don't want to do things that are like the top 5 things you should do to avoid this, or the top 3 things that successful artists do. He doesn't have a survivorship bias, but people who do, they will read articles like this, or they will write articles like this about the winners in a particular area and what they do, to the detriment of people who maybe don't do those things and still win, or all the people that try really hard and don't quite get to the place that the winners get to. So you tend to give more importance to those things that well-known winners in a particular space might have employed to get where they are. The winners are remembered, the losers are ignored. And the problem with that, the bias there, is that you might not achieve, Steph Curry's position in basketball. That doesn't mean you can't do really well and learn from what he and others do. But you can also learn from the people that don't get to his level, right? So don't allow that to creep into your thinking in terms of, oh, I only should take lessons from the people that are super, super successful. You can learn something from anybody. You can learn what to do, and you can also learn what not to do. So that brings me to the second of our biases today, and that's the loss aversion bias. So this is the tendency to worry about our losses, prefer avoiding those losses over celebrating, enjoying, being happy about our wins, and thinking about what life would be like to be successful. We tend to think more about what life will be like if we fail. Now, marketers use this all the time, and there's actually a sort of a companion phrase that goes with this when it comes to marketing speak, and also just in general influencing other people. And that's the division between toward language and away from language. So toward language is language like, you're going to be great. This is going to be fantastic. This will help you succeed. This will help you do better. This will be the thing that will solve your problem. That's toward language. Away from languages, you don't want to do this instead. If you do that, you're going to fail. We'll help you. It's that idea that if you don't get something or don't buy something or don't use a particular service, you're going to suffer a loss. And that is often more powerful, and it's a bias that we have about thinking that if we lose something or fail at something or something negative happens, that's more powerful than if we get something done, if we do something, if we're successful, if we have something good happen. How could that possibly be as awesome as avoiding a huge problem? Well, that's called loss aversion bias. And I'm not saying that that doesn't actually happen. I mean, in life and death situations, you don't necessarily want to celebrate the fact that you didn't die, right? and you want to avoid those negative consequences. You want to stay safe. But when it comes to your journey, your career, we tend to worry mostly, if we have this bias, about the mistakes that we want to avoid rather than the successes that we want to achieve. So that's the second one. First one, survivorship bias. Second one, loss aversion bias. Third one is kind of weird. It's something that happens all the time, and I watch people do it, and I go, really? Okay. It's called the availability, this is a little tough one, the availability heuristic bias. And heuristic is spelled Heuristic. Now, this is the bias where we assume that the things that come to mind first, that are most available to our memory, that we remember quickest, are the most important. So, well, I thought of that first. It must be important. It must be the right path to take. And it isn't always. In fact, it's often not. We overvalue and overestimate those things that pop into our head as an answer as quick as they do, or quicker than others. And we tend to undervalue those things that don't come to mind. This also applies to things like the news. You know, we hear things in the news, we give those things more importance than the things we don't hear about in the news. And part of that is because there's a bias of, well, if the media is talking about it, it has to be important. Or if it's popular on social media, it has to be important. That's not necessarily true. That's the bias that they're talking about. So just because something pops into your head first, and that often comes out of like trivia contests. Oh, I thought of that first. That must be the one. So the survivorship bias, paying attention only to the winners. Loss aversion, holding those things that you avoid in terms of negative consequences more important than achieving positive consequences. And the availability heuristic bias, which is the things that come to mind easily are more important than the things that don't come to mind easily or don't come to mind at all. So those are the first three. I've got three more for you, and we've got more coming up, all kinds of cool things. I'm actually getting close to the time when I'm going to undergo the arthroscopic knife for my shoulder. So I'm getting a little nervous about that. I'm doing a lot of research on it. I'm not going to bore you with videos on the process. Maybe the day after I'll go, okay, here's what happened, because I'll be drugged. They're putting a pain pump on me for a day, so it's crazy. Anyway, biases. Those three biases that I talked about. Any of those happen for you every so often? Yeah? Any examples you want to share with us? Put it in the comments below. If you're on votogogo.com, pop a comment below this video. I'd love to hear from you on how these things affect you, and maybe how they've affected decisions that you've made or not made in the right way. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel on YouTube, go ahead and click on my head there. If there's no head there, then there's a subscribe button somewhere below this video. And if you'd like to see the latest episode I've done, click on that frame and YouTube will play it for you. I'm David H. Lawrence, the 17th. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you tomorrow.